Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was Jujutsu Kaisen 0 the movie, making $4.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $27 million and a worldwide total of $159 million. So remember how I said that I was wondering if this movie was going to follow the trend of other limited release anime films that had very huge openings but then plummeted during their second weekend? Well, guess what followed the pattern? Yes, folks, this film had a steep drop of 75% from last weekend, showing that while these movies do very well on their opening weekends, they are very front-loaded and they aren't able to have that repeat value many other films have. But this isn't to disparage the success of this movie, of course. It's just because it's just following a certain pattern we see with these movies, and since it is a limited release film, it is what to be expected with these types of movies. So while yes, it is a little unfortunate that this movie has plummeted in its second week to such a degree, it's still a huge hit. It's still one of the biggest movies ever to release in Japan, and it's still the third highest opening weekend for an anime film domestically. So don't be too sad if this total bums you down. It's just a trend we see with these movies from time to time. It didn't do terribly, but it's probably not going to be here much longer because, well, it's a limited release, but it still did very well. Number 4 was Uncharted, making $5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $133 million and a worldwide total of $357 million. So while Spider-Man may have fallen out of the top 5, it is clear that Tom Holland has not, as evident with last week and this week's totals. This movie just keeps hanging on in there. It's got insanely strong word of mouth and was able to fend off the stiffest of competition, which we'll get to very soon. It's amazing how well this movie has done, just overperforming everyone's expectations and sticking around for pretty much over a month now into its theatrical run is honestly quite impressive. And this weekend was also very good for this movie, as it brought its domestic total just around 11 million away from Pokemon Detective Pikachu's domestic total and around 13 million away from Sonic the Hedgehog's domestic total, though Sonic may have a few words to speak with Mr. Drake in a couple weeks, but we'll get there when we need to get there. And as far as worldwide numbers go, it is now the 4th highest grossing movie based off of a video game worldwide of all time, topping Prince of Persia and the Angry Birds movie. It also sits behind Rampage, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and Warcraft. This movie is a huge hit, not just for right now, but also in terms of video game movies. I'm impressed. I'm sure everyone who made this movie is also impressed. It's very impressive to see how well this movie is doing, although given where it's at right now and how April seems to be blockbuster month, as we got a whole lot of new movies hitting theaters this month, I have a feeling that Uncharted may be falling out of the top 5 very soon, and once again Sonic may have a few words to speak with him in a couple of weeks. So you may see Uncharted falling out of the top 5 very soon, but even if it does that, much like the other films that we talked about that almost left the top 5, it is insane how well this movie has done, becoming one of the first big blockbusters of the year and one of the biggest video game movies of all time, both domestically and worldwide, is great and fascinating to see. And I'm honestly still, very impressed to see how well this movie is doing. We'll see where it goes from here, if it stays in the top 5 for a while, but if it leaves, then it had one hell of a run. Number 3 was RRR Rise, Roar, Revolt, opening with 9.5 million domestically and 65 million worldwide. So this is a neat little surprise. We've been noticing a lot of foreign language films or films of foreign language descent that are entering the top 5 due to their limited release and their general buzz and excitement for this movie, which honestly I'm all for. I'm like seeing some of these newer, much different voices across the world entering domestic charts in the top 5, because it shows that we are all open for newer voices, and we are all open for movies from different countries, different cultures, different ethnicities, and I'm very happy to see that we're all starting to branch out and give these movies the support they deserve, even if they are limited release and cost a bit more than the average movie ticket. But yeah, this movie did very well, as it scored the second biggest opening weekend for a Bollywood movie domestically, right behind, and I apologize if I butcher this name pronunciation, but Bahubali 2 The Conclusion, which opened back in 2017 with 10 million. And this is another solid opening weekend, not just domestically, because in its country of origin, India, it scored not only the biggest opening day for a movie released there, but also the biggest opening weekend in general, which is impressive. Although, to be fair, this is a limited release, so don't expect it to hang in the top 5 for much longer afterwards. It might have a couple weeks left in it, but I don't know. But even with that, this is still a very neat surprise and a neat little addition to the top 5 box office results domestically, and I look forward to seeing many more of these types of movies, not just from India, but from other countries and cultures as well, entering the charts, so we can see some newer movies and newer voices being heard and shared across the entire world. Number 2 was The Batman, making 20 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 331 million and a worldwide total of 672 million. So while Batman's run at the number 1 spot at the box office charts was not very long, it still does not disparage the fact that this movie is hugely successful. Even with it falling to number 2, it only dipped 44%, which is honestly rather impressive, and it surpassed 330 million domestically and 650 million worldwide. I think it's even got a shot at crossing 700 million worldwide. Don't know about 400 million. That kind of seems like a bit of an ask, once again, especially with April being kind of a pretty big month for movies right now, so it's got a lot of competition to face at the moment. But this film is still a huge hit. I don't see any reason why it doesn't surpass other DC films like the 2016 Suicide Squad movie and the Joker movie, maybe even Batman v Superman. Very soon. It's got that hype and the momentum still. People are still encouraging others to go see it, and it's still the biggest movie of the year right now. We'll see what other movies will top it, maybe a Marvel movie or maybe even Sonic, who knows. But right now, this movie is still crushing it, and while it's no longer the number 1 movie of the weekend, as we learned with Spider-Man, I think it's safe to say that this movie will remain in the top 5 for quite some time. Not as to the extent of Spider-Man, obviously, but it will still have its place in the charts for many weeks to come. So once again, sad to see it no longer the number 1 movie, but still happy that it's here otherwise. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was The Lost City, opening with 30 million domestically and 34 million worldwide. So last week when I discussed this movie, I was unsure about how well this movie was going to do. Was it going to open solidly, or was it going to open poorly? It was really hard to tell because the marketing and the buzz and the reviews for it were okay, and Batman was such a juggernaut, I wasn't expecting much. But the film defied my expectations, and I think a lot of people's expectations, as it opened with a pretty solid number, as you can tell, and thanks to its relatively cheap budget of 74 million, I think it's got a shot at least making that budget back with how well this movie is doing with audiences. It has a B+ on Cinema Score, which is a little concerning, but seeing as well other movies like Dog, even Uncharted, were able to pivot off of the success of other movies and maintain their audiences throughout their respective weekends, I see no reason why this movie won't suffice as very solid counter programming for the weeks to come. It's also the 3rd film from Paramount this year to open at number 1, following Scream 5 and Jackass Forever. Keep in mind, folks, these are just the smaller movies. We haven't even gotten Sonic 2 or Top Gun Maverick yet. which it honestly, given the studio, is rather impressive. They did a pretty good job getting the word out to other people and got them interested in seeing the movie, it seems. So all in all, this is a very solid opening weekend. I'm very impressed to see what this movie's doing. Let's see if it maintains it. Will it have really solid word of mouth? Will it have small drops, small holds throughout the respective weeks? Will it become one of the bigger hits of the post-theater closure era of the pandemic? Maybe something akin to Free Guy? I don't know, but right now it seems like this movie is off to a very solid start, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here. Not bad. The Lost City, not bad at all. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one major release hitting theaters, and it is Morbius. Yes, folks, it seems that now this movie will actually, for realsies, once and for all, yes, actually, positively, without certainty, be coming out this Friday. And normally, seeing how this is a Marvel film, or somewhat a Marvel film, it's in association with the company. Sorry for that little mix-up there. I would obviously say, oh, well, this is definitely going to be a huge hit. Everyone's going to go see it. It's going to have a big opening. Hooray, hurrah. But with this movie, I gotta be honest, I'm not seeing it here with this movie. I mean, I know people are aware of it and people are talking about it, but I don't know too many people who are actually very interested in it, and everyone who I know is talking about it are just talking about what a complete joke this movie is. Add on to the fact that the marketing hasn't been the best. I haven't seen all that much promotion for it outside of a couple commercials and a couple posters here and there, which isn't something great for a Marvel film, or again, something in relation to Marvel. And above all else, while official reviews aren't officially released, although they are set to be released a day before the movie is even out, so that's a good sign. Early reactions for the film have been released, and they are not pretty. Many people are calling this very bad. It really shows you how much the studio cares about this movie, even as them going as far as letting the director spoil the movie a week before the film was even released. Yes, folks, this actually happened on Twitter. Don't go check it out if you're actually interested in the movie, though. Please, this is a spoiler-free channel. But yeah, while I do think it's gonna have a okay at best opening weekend, let me say that again, I only think it's going to be an okay at best opening weekend for a movie in association with Marvel. That's not a good sign. But we'll see how well this movie does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.